Right, so today I wanted to start by talking about the big, massive bombshell story the New York Post put out yesterday. Basically, going more into detail about just how crazy Hunter Biden is and also implicating his dad, Joe Biden, in a lot of ways as well. But the biggest thing to talk about isn't the crazy stuff that came out about them that makes the Bidens look really bad. It's the Twitter and I think Facebook as well, but I know it was Twitter for sure. Censored the story, right? Like you couldn't link to it. They blocked access to it. So yeah, pretty much outright censorship. And I mean, the first thing I wanted to get into is there's kind of the people that are okay with this. There's two camps. There's the camp that still thinks that these social media companies aren't biased, which honestly I don't even know what to say to these people because they couldn't make it more obvious. Like seriously, they could not make it more obvious. Twitter allowed, and pretty, I think all the other social media platforms allowed people to share the links and to link to and to view the Trump tax stories, which were illegally obtained, regardless of what you think of them. They were illegally obtained. These were not. Now, again, some people are arguing that, but they're not. Based off the law, Biden didn't pay the company that had his computer, therefore it makes it their property. So these were legally obtained, but yet they still don't allow them. So again, you can't really make that argument. So again, I think the idea that they're not biased is absolute insanity, like absolute insanity. And anybody who still denies that, like seriously, you live in one heck of an echo chamber, like one heck of an echo chamber. So again, now that we have that out of the way, I think we can deal with the bigger side in that, oh, they're a private company, therefore they can do whatever they want, which they're kind of right. The problem too is that there's many contradicting points in that number one, a lot of these people are the same people that were on the opposite end of the spectrum when it came to the whole bake the cake example that, oh no, you have to bake the cake, right? So again, unless you're willing to be like, yeah, people don't have to bake the cake, then that's a glaring contradiction if you have a different point of view when it comes to that. The other thing being too is that, and the bigger one too, is that when it comes to this, they have to be either a publisher and a platform, and this is the problem that 99% of people don't understand this kind of stuff. No, again, I'm no expert, but again, I still have yet to talk to someone in person, even a lot of people, the vast majority of people online, who actually know more than what I do on this topic. And the reason it scares me so much is I don't know a whole lot, right? So this is the problem: is that 99% of the public is literally could not be more clueless on the topic, I guess. So they either have to be a publisher or a platform. Now, why is that so important? Why is that so important? Because if you're a publisher, that means that you're liable for any bad stuff that could come of that. Again, if someone posts a death threat on a platform, then you're not liable, right? Like if someone, if you're using TELUS to, as your phone provider, and you're, doing illegal activity, from a service that they provide on your phone, TELUS ain't liable because they allow anyone to have it, right? So or like I say, that's the one side of the spectrum, or you are a publisher, meaning you don't allow certain points of view. People say, okay, yeah, that's what they're doing. The problem with that is that you are now liable for any bad stuff. Again, if someone live streams a suicide or a murder, you're going to get sued for that. If someone posts a death threat, and they don't take it down ASAP, you're going to get sued for that. Now again, why do these big social why does Twitter and Facebook and all these ones not just do that? Well, why do they not want to do that? It's because they'd lose a lot of money. They would have to hire a lot more staff, or at the very least, um, double down and create a better algorithm, which is just going to make people want to leave the platform more and more. Because what has and here's the other reason why. Before I should wait a minute. This is the problem too. The reason that they want to have it both ways. They want to be able to censor people, but they also don't want to be liable. You have to pick one. right? And this is why it bothers me so much, is that 99.9% of people do not understand this, right? So again, if you want to censor people, by all means. The problem being is that you now have to be liable for any wrongdoing on the platform. And like I say, they don't want that because they're going to lose money. And this, like I say, this is what the vast majority of people do not understand, right? So, and here's the other big problem with that too, is that, and why I think that it's still unfair, regardless of whether, even if they pick a side, and by side I mean publisher or platform, they have been allowed to grow into near monopolies, right? Like near monopolies, with the ability to have it both ways. That is not fair, because if you have two, competing companies, whatever industry, and you say, okay, this one's completely immune from any liability for any wrongdoing, and you have another company that is liable, which one do you think is going to win out in the end? Well, of course, it's the one that doesn't have liability, because they can screw up and not have to worry about losing money. So this is one of the big problems. And here's the other thing too, like I say, is that whenever you argue, like libertarianism, or like, for a free society, the big argument that people always come up with is, oh, well, what if someone, buys up all the roads and denies people access to them unless they pay them outrageous amounts of money? Other words saying, okay, if we have a free society, monopolies will occur and people will exploit that. But these are the same people that now defend the monopolies, right? So that's another thing that I really just cannot stand about these. Like, if you're gonna have an opinion, like, on this kind of stuff, it's got to be consistent. Like, it's got to be consistent. Like, my God, like, it just bothers me so much. But anyway, like I say, is anything gonna come of this? Probably not, because, and here's the reason why. It benefits the Democrats, so they're not going to speak up about it. The centrists seem to side with the left pretty much no matter what, because centrists, most of them at least, are just, um, too proud to actually have a moral stand, or to actually stand for something. So they're not going to do anything, at least the majority of them. And the right is too afraid to do this kind to do stuff, because again, it's how the old I don't think it's an old saying, but how I always mention is that if you give the left a foot, they take a kilometer, or in the States, a mile. And if you give the right a foot, they take an inch, right? And that's the big problem, is that the right needs to grow a spine and actually do something here. Now, again, will they be able to? I don't know. But they need to grow a spine. Like, they need to grow a spine. Like, come on. So anyway, the next thing I wanted to bring up is, from Jazz Patriot here, saying mask mandates result in more cases in every state they're tried. Um, am I 100% sure of that? No, but I do know that they have no effect from all the numbers I've seen. In Minnesota, Tim Walz dictated masks on July 25th. Cases have steadily risen since. Um, in Florida, Ron DeSantis has largely kept the state open and removed all restrictions on September 25th, including all local mask mandates. Again, and here's the thing: Florida's had this in place for like 3 weeks now. Where's the massive increase in cases, right? Like, where's this massive increase in cases? It hasn't happened, right? Like, this is the reason too that, like, these mask zealots don't understand, and the lockdown zealots don't understand, is that the reason people disagree with you isn't, I mean, a lot of people, I don't even think they think they're wrong. The reason that people disagree with them so much is that they will never ever admit they were wrong. They will never admit they're wrong. The lockdowns were a complete and utter failure, but yet, have these people admitted that? No. The mask mandates, it could not be more obvious. They do jack you know what. Have they admitted that? No. So this is the reason why people are so skeptical of any form of any type of lockdown measure. For the simple reason being, like I say, they will never ever admit they're wrong, right? They will never do that. And this is why, I would suggest, and why me personally, I do not believe a word anybody says that is advocating for any form of increasing lockdowns in any way, shape, or form, right? I will not believe a word any of those people say, not one word, because they've been wrong all along, and they've yet to admit that, right? Like they've yet to it, and the WHO even came out and said, yeah, the lockdowns don't really work, but yet have any of these local officials said that? Have we repealed the mask mandates? Have we um, clawed back the lockdown restrictions? No, we haven't, right? Anyway, the next thing to bring up is from Paul Mitchell. CTV put out a story the other day. Majority of Canadians support closing non-essential businesses during second wave. Paul Mitchell says, utter BS. Yeah, I don't believe a word they say, because whenever you see these media outlets publish these polls, they put out their own internal, their own polls, and on Twitter, and again, people say, oh, Twitter polls aren't scientific. Well, I don't think that the polls they're doing are scientific either. They poll, they poll people just in the GTA, right? Like, come on. I don't believe a word those polls say. And again, the Twitter polls show a massive disparity. I mean, take the gun control ones, the classic example. They said, oh, it was majority of Canadians, like 55% support banning handguns. And they put out their own poll, and it was like 75% of people said no, right? So when there's that much of a disparity, I don't believe a word they say. If it's like a 5-10% disparity, maybe. But I don't believe a word these people say. And I don't believe that many Canadians can be that stupid. Like maybe it's possible. I think that it's still a large minority, probably, I don't know, 30-40% of people that support this kind of stuff. And it's largely because they are about as gullible as one can possibly be. Because again, if the news came out tomorrow and said, yeah, this whole situation is under control, we don't need to be worried about it anymore. It's a complete nothing burger now. Everyone will be talking, oh, can you believe there's still people worried about this whole virus situation? It's a complete nothing burger, right? Like they just believe whatever the news tells them. They believe whatever the news tells them, and that is the problem. And that is like I said, that's the problem. And here's the other way that they manipulate people. They'll give you an example of somewhere that agrees with their worldview, and then, oh well, this area mandated masks and it reduced the cases. Do you support mandating masks? Like that's how they manipulate people. They don't tell you that, oh well, yeah, there's Sweden, there's South Dakota, there's tons of places that didn't mandate masks that were perfectly fine. They don't tell you that, right? So this is how they manipulate people. Um, this is from Rocco Galati. He says, from the CDC, those who get sick with the you know what virus always wear a mask, 70.6, never wear a mask, 3.9. Now, again, this is just the 10 millionth example of masks not working. Now, again, this is self-reporting, so again, it's not perfectly scientific, but again, look at the disparity. There's no way you're going to get that much of a disparity from self-reporting. Like if it was like 60-40, maybe, but 70% versus 4%, like come on, again, only 3.9% of people that never wear a mask are getting it. Like, come on, at what point are we going to admit masks don't work? Like, seriously, at what point? At what point? Like, come on. And no, and again, I know I go on and on and on and on about this kind of stuff, but there's still so many people, especially, having Thanksgiving recently. That was surprising to me just how many people still believe the propaganda. Like, come on. So anyway, that's the last thing I wanted to bring up. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, BitChute, and Parler. All those links are in the description, so you can find them all there.